everybody. The topic this week is the Russian-Ukraine war. On Friday, President Putin visited President Trump, and there was optimism that maybe there was going to be a ceasefire, maybe the peace process would advance. Well, there wasn't a ceasefire. The news broke that Zelensky is coming to Washington this next week, and the talks are ongoing. A lot of people are surprised that this war is still going on. Quite frankly, I'm not. This war, good, bad, or indifferent, is playing right into Russia's hands. Russia historically, remember, fights based on the doctrine of attrition, right? Whether it was in the 18th century, right, when I believe Swedish King Charles XII was a wonderfully trained, one of the most advanced and tactically proficient armies on earth, came into Russia. Well, they decided to fight attrition. They burned down their own infrastructure, and they're more than happy to play the game of we have more men than you have bullets. They pretty much did the exact same tactic when Napoleon invaded them in the 19th century, and they did the same tactic when Hitler invaded them in the 20th century. Look, Russia is more than willing to sit back and play the long game, is willing to sit back and let the casualties mount up. That is how they fight. That's how they've always fought. It kind of fits into normal historical patterns. Ukraine obviously does not have that luxury. They have probably 100 million fewer people, and although they fought so valiantly and they've done a number of amazing strikes, like especially the drone strikes deep into Russia, Ukraine at some point is, going to have to figure out a way out. Now, that's challenging because it's also coming out that really what Russia wants is they want the land, right? Putin has to go back to his people and say, look, there's a reason for this war. There's a reason why we fought. We did this special military exercise. He has to deliver a win. Well, Zelensky, his people are getting tired and worn out by the war in the Ukraine, but ceding land is, to my understanding, unconstitutional and would require a referendum. So concluding this war is going to be very, very tricky. It's not as easy as just drawing up a ceasefire, drawing up a document. There's a lot of balls in the air. And of course, remember, Putin has a vested interest, and really all of the oligarchs in Russia, they have a vested interest in Putin. The reason that they became the oligarchs, that they got a lot of the wealth and the assets, is because they were loyal to him. So Putin is safe in Russia. Zelensky, to a certain extent, also has incentive to stay in power as well. I mean, who knows what's going to happen when the war is over? He's been a popular war president, but as we saw when he tried to alter the administration of their National Corruption Board, the people didn't like that very much. So the question is how bad does Zelensky want to stay in power? Okay, now let's talk about really what we should be focused on. What are going to be the aspects of agriculture? To me, the big question is what's going to happen to investment in this super, super important grain producing region after this war happens. A lot of infrastructure has been damaged, right? A lot of ports, a lot of roads, a lot of railroad tracks, irrigation equipment, grain storage equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How is the capital inflow going to look when or if this war actually ends, right? A lot of the world, especially growing parts of the world, depend on the grain that's produced in both Russia and the Ukraine, the parts that are really in these combat zones. So having foreign capital, which really rebuilt these countries after the fall of the Soviet Union, flow in is critically important, right? That is going to determine, especially for American farmers, where our grain goes. Because, again, the part of the world where they're major food suppliers to are very fast-growing parts of the world. The question is, do our basis markets look different? Do our grain flows look different as we grow into the future? So keep an eye on what happens here, because it absolutely is going to affect agriculture, and there's a lot of questions that down the road are going to affect us. So if you farm, if you ranch, it's critically important. This is worth paying attention to. So, hey, let's see what happens. We'll be here together.